Pizza is an ancient tradition here on Long Island, but there's one local chain taking the island by storm with their so-called elevated pizza experience. The Pizzeria features waiter service, a bar at some locations, and a menu that spans from different pizza options to popular Italian dinners. Founded in 2019 by Cliff, Paul, and his brother Dan, they opened their first eatery in the Smith Haven Mall and have followed a pretty aggressive expansion plan, now with 5 locations and 6th on the way. Join me today as we meet one of the owners, Paul, and get a behind-the-scenes look at how a small slice shop has managed to sprout a small empire along the South Shore of Long Island with a cult following. I'm James Webster, and this is Owners and Operators. Paul, thanks for having us today, welcoming us into the business, showing us behind the scenes. Give us a 30-second intro on who you guys are and what you guys do here.
Sure. So we very much view ourselves as a startup that is in the hospitality space. We are not just a traditional pizzeria that, although we do serve pizza, we are a hospitality brand through and through. We have a great team. We focus on people, place, and product. Those are kind of our 3 Ps. Those are what we think is the secret sauce in our world. And, our people being number one, which I know a lot of people now are having a hard time finding people, but we've been super fortunate to find great people that are really aligned with our culture, which is pretty good.
That's awesome. Places, so we're in your Bayshore location?
Yes, yeah, so Bayshore location, we like to keep a modern coastal vibe, very all-inclusive to everybody. So the construction worker with the dirty work boots can come in, sit next to the kid that just came off the beach, next to the lawyer who is working off of Main Street, right? So we're very all-inclusive, very family-oriented, but with a little bit of escalation.
How'd you guys come up with the name of the business?
Yeah, so we were kind of throwing a lot of things around, me and my 2 partners, Cliff and Danny, and something kind of stuck, and we said, what if we were the pizzeria or the pizzeria, however you want to say it, and I was like, well, what does that encompass? That kind of encompasses raising the level a little bit. It elevates the bar of pizza life. And it allows us, I think, to be anything we want to be, right? So from somebody that's worked in pizza my whole life, I've been able to take what I love about this business and what I love about hospitality and create a world I want to live in and remove everything else that I disliked about pizza world, from grinding people down and chewing them up and spitting them out and no future, no pathway, no growth, kind of modernizing the way we look at pizzerias.
It's funny, I've done that a little bit with my business, my current business, where I've worked at places before and I said, okay, I love that here and I don't like that here.
100%.
So that's how I'm coming up with what I have. How'd you get started in pizza and restaurant industry?
Yeah, so my father, when he came over from Italy, with, again, the telltale story, 2 nickels thrown up together, came over, got a haircut at the Italian barber. He sent them to the pizzeria in the shopping center and said, those guys speak Italian. If you don't speak English, they'll give you a job. Rest was kind of history. He ended up saving his money, opened his first pizzeria up, and that's kind of where I come from. I started in Gino's in Lake Ronkonkoma, working for my father, started in the kitchen, washing dishes, that whole spiel, and I fell in love with the camaraderie of, at the time, a boys club, right, in the kitchen. And I loved being back there and hanging with the older delivery guys that went to the same, the local high school I went to, but they were like my friend's older brothers, so it was super cool, and I knew what was going on. And so I just love the atmosphere. I love the vibe. And so my mother said to my father, well, if you're not going to give him a job running your little pizzeria here in Ronkonkoma, who do you think is going to give him a real job? So he goes, okay. And I think that stuck with him. Him and my uncle took me out to a diner in Ronkonkoma. They said, all right, we're going to let you run our pizzeria. We're going to give you 20% of the pizzeria. You're going to have to pay us back for it. And let's see how you do. And those guys, I give them a lot of credit. I wouldn't be sitting here without them. They all took me under their wing and said, hey, don't forget to call the produce guy. We got a big order this weekend.
Walk us through what is entailed with running a restaurant.
My job and what I feel most is if I can empower and motivate and keep our guys focused on what the task is is at hand, I think it translates to the customer. They provide great service. So, there's a lot of minutia that goes on from, just getting a store ready for the day service, keeping it clean, keeping a schedule, making sure guys are here, making sure we have the right people in place. We're not just giving people a pulse. We're giving them the right people with the right tools that want to be here.
Who decides the menu and what you guys are serving?
Everybody thinks it's me, but it's not. To be fair, it's very collective. Cliff's a foodie. He's got great ideas. I help a lot with the execution, but we have a list this long on a Google Doc that has all potential ideas and food options or things maybe we've seen on Instagram and things we want to cultivate. And, some are winners and some are maybe losers, but we have a list actively that we check back on. But it's definitely a collaboration of all the founders and even our staff.
Has your vision changed from when you guys started to where you are now, or where the direction you're headed in?
I think the overall direction as far as building this thing into a valuable company and adding value hasn't changed, but I think the way we're going about it has changed. We started out at the very beginning thinking we were going to open up and scale through malls, and Simon Properties, who offered us the first olive branch, to open in Smith Haven Mall. And then we were ready to open up on April 1st of 2020, and they closed the mall 7 days prior to us opening with a store that was built in the food court. So we look through our lease and we go, we got to open whenever they tell us to, right? So now they opened in July to no food court seating because the governor took away indoor seating, which rightfully so for COVID. And now we're sitting there in a store with no customers. And I remember everybody telling me, like, I told you so, you don't need this, you need this like a hole in the head. And we pivoted and we moved outside the mall, which we thought we could scale to 30 locations in the next 5 years just in the malls. And our mentality changed. So now we found a small location in Bayport 6 months after we opened the mall. And we opened that store better than we could have expected. And then we started rolling. We started opening up stores outside the mall. And then we came to Bayshore, which I mentioned earlier to you. Now all our stores moving forward went from small pizza shops, takeout, to a vibe, an atmosphere with a bar, a place where everybody can meet, a place where everybody feels comfortable, all-inclusive, and a place where they say, this doesn't exist. A pizzeria where my kids can run around, I can have a drink, I'm sitting next to the postman or the lawyer or the kid off the beach, and this is great. Watch the game, and everybody here is a smile. People are coming here 3-4 times a week, and this has become their neighborhood spot, either to get a cocktail, have a very, very reasonably priced meal, and have an experience, right? So this is kind of our model moving forward. So we went from, to answer your question in long, I guess you would say, is we started at a food court, and now here we are with essentially a restaurant with a vibe and a bar with indoor and outdoor seating. We want to build this brand as fast as we can, as responsibly as we can. Yep. We have our 7th location, which will be 7 inside under 4 years. Let's call it 3.5 years that we're getting close to signing. And, we're trying to do it responsibly, right? We keep rolling we take modest salaries in this business. And when I say responsible, we roll all of our cash flow into the next location, right? There's a lot of logistics that goes on, but it's not, again, we're not putting anybody on the moon. This isn't rocket science. So, but we're super focused and we know what our goals are and we sprint as fast as we can at them.
What's been your biggest challenge to date with building the business or getting it to where we are today?
Our biggest challenge, I'd imagine most people out there would say it's finding good people.
A good amount.
Good amount, yeah. I don't think that's our biggest problem by any stretch. I think it's staying focused and not getting bogged down by the minutia of the day-to-day.
What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night is the unknown. Are we ready for store 6 and 7? Is it the right time? These are decisions you have to decide. Yeah. And there's got to be metrics in place to kind of help you with that. I always worry about those type of things. Like, are we ready? Is this the right decision? And sometimes you second guess yourself because you are responsible for a lot of people.
That's my biggest weight that I have, is I'm responsible for X number of families.
Sure.
And they might have significant others, they might have kids.
Yep.
To some degree, it's also my responsibility. What bit of advice would you give somebody either looking to start a pizzeria or in a restaurant or in business in general?
That's a great question. I think you really have to identify who you want to be, to put yourself in whoever your guest or your audience is. You have to put yourself in their shoes. What do you think they would like with your idea? But get as much advice as you can, polish that advice, try to spin it and utilize it.
Why the pizzeria? Because there's a pizzeria,
Yeah.
almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Why the pizzeria?
I love this business. I love figuring it out. I love navigating it. I love trying to be better than the next guy. I'm a competitive person. So I think turning this thing that is the pizza world that I grew up in on its head and figuring out more efficient ways to be successful and grow a real company more so than a mom and pop pizzeria. We're growing a company. We're growing a brand. So for me, that excites me. It's a challenge. Pizza just happens to be what I know. That's my wheelhouse. If I was, Taco Paul, I guess we'd be doing the taqueria, right? So that's just the family and the world I come from. We're having fun doing it. So I've created a world that I want to have fun in, and we're living it.
Thanks for joining us today at the Pizzeria. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and look forward to bringing you inside more interesting businesses like this one. So be sure to punch that subscribe button and follow us so you don't miss out. If you're interested in having owners and operators showcase your business, please comment below and we will be in touch.